3 months in the Maldives. Wow. Can you imagine? That's like not just a vacation, right? That's a whole season in paradise, the kind of trip that, well, most people only dream about.
Yeah, it really is a dream. But it's surprisingly achievable if you break it down a little bit. And I can tell you, I've spent a lot of time exploring these islands, and the Maldives really, truly does live up to the hype.
That's what I'd love to hear. Okay, so
Okay.
for our listener out there who is, getting ready to maybe embark on this adventure,
Hmm.
we're going to make sure you have absolutely everything you need. Practical tips, insider secrets, all those little details that turn a good trip into an unforgettable one.
Absolutely. I think we should uncover some hidden gems, right? Delve into the local traditions, and maybe even inspire you to try something you never even thought you would. Because, well, 3 months is the perfect amount of time to really get under the skin of this incredible place.
I love that. All right, so first things first, let's just set the scene right. Most people, when they picture the Maldives, they picture these idyllic islands with overwater bungalows perched above this crystal clear water. And, well, that's certainly part of the picture, but there's so much more to it. Did you know, for example, that the Maldives is actually the flattest country in the world?
It's true. The average ground level is only, get this, 1.5 meters above sea level. And what's fascinating is that this isn't just some random geographical quirk. The Maldives is made up of over 11,192 coral islands, and they're all part of these massive ring-shaped reefs called atolls. There's 26 of them in total, and that's what gives the Maldives this just incredible underwater landscape.
So those picture-perfect beaches that everyone's obsessed with are actually part of these huge coral structures.
Huh. They are.
Amazing. Okay, so gotta ask, best time to experience all this beauty. Should our listener just pack their swimsuit and sunscreen year-round, or is there a strategy to timing this epic trip?
That's a great question. And it really depends on what kind of experience you're looking for. For that classic Maldivian postcard weather, bright sunshine, calm seas, those vibrant turquoise waters, you'll want to aim for the dry season, which runs from December to April.
So that's when you get those perfect beach days.
Absolutely.
But there's more to it than just, sunshine, right?
You got it. During the dry season, the visibility for diving and snorkeling is just perfect. The water is incredibly calm. It's also the perfect time for sailing, dolphin watching, and just, I don't know, soaking up the tranquility of the islands.
Okay, so if our listener is a water enthusiast, dry season sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But what about those who maybe crave a little more adventure? Is there a time when the Maldives offers something a little different?
For sure. The wet season, which runs from May to November, it brings the southwest monsoon. And with it, some pretty impressive waves. So if you're a surfer, this is your time to shine. Some of the best surf breaks in the world, they're in the Maldives during these months.
So even though it's called the wet season, you can still have an amazing time. It's just maybe a slightly different focus. And you know what I love about the idea of 3 months in the Maldives? It's like you have the flexibility to experience a bit of both seasons.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You could start your trip in the dry season, soaking up the sun, exploring the underwater world, and then you transition to the wet season for some surfing adventures, or maybe even storm chasing.
Now, let's be real for a second. When people think Maldives, they think luxury. And those overwater bungalows, let's be honest, they don't come cheap.
Mhm.
But I have a feeling, with your expertise, we're going to blow our listeners' mind with the options that are actually out there.
You're right. The Maldives, it doesn't have to be a budget buster. In fact, one of the things that makes it so special is that there's, something for everyone, from luxury resorts to charming guest houses on local islands.
Okay, so let's break down those options.
Hmm.
When you say local islands, what exactly does that mean? For someone who's never been to the Maldives, paint that picture a little bit.
Okay, so when most people think about the Maldives, they picture those private island resorts.
Right.
But there are actually over 200 inhabited islands where locals live and work. These local islands, they offer a completely different perspective, a chance to experience that authentic Maldivian culture.
So you're saying our listener could actually stay among the locals
Mm-hmm.
and experience their way of life.
Exactly. And what's great is that many local islands have guest houses and small hotels that offer incredibly affordable accommodation. You can find comfortable rooms with beautiful ocean views for a fraction of the price of those, luxury resorts.
That's a game changer. And I bet the food scene is incredible on those local islands, too.
You bet. We'll dive deeper into the culinary delights a little later, but just imagine fresh seafood, caught that day, vibrant curries, bursting with flavor, tropical fruits you've never even heard of.
Okay, my mouth is watering already. So we've got these incredible local islands to explore. But I know our listeners are probably wondering, like, how do you actually get around this island nation? Is it all speedboats and seaplanes? Or are there more, I don't know, down-to-earth options?
Yeah, there are certainly speedboats and seaplanes if you want to travel in style, but one of the best ways to experience the Maldives is actually by taking the public ferries.
Public ferries,
Yeah.
like the kind you find in, like, a bustling city harbor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're a super affordable way to island hop, and you get to mingle with locals, experience the everyday rhythm of life in the Maldives. Plus, the views from the ferry are just breathtaking.
I love that idea. It's like a built-in adventure, and it's budget-friendly.
Okay, so we've got our accommodation options, we've got our transportation sorted. Now let's talk about, like, what to actually do in the Maldives. I mean, 3 months is a long time. You could probably circumnavigate the entire country, right? You probably could. But one of the things that makes the Maldives so special is that you don't have to rush. You can spend a week on one island, just swimming, snorkeling, soaking up the sun. Or you can hop around and explore a different island every few days.
That's what I love about this trip. It's like the freedom to choose your own pace. So if you're someone who loves to pack their itinerary with activities, you can. But if you're more of a, like, go-the-flow type, the Maldives welcomes that too.
Exactly. And, even though those overwater bungalows they're iconic, I actually think staying on a local island gives you a much richer experience.
Oh, tell me more. What makes those local islands so special?
Well, for one, you're right in the heart of the community. You can wander through the streets, chat with locals, maybe even learn a few phrases in Divihi, the Maldivian language.
That's amazing. It's like stepping into a completely different world. So you're not just observing the culture, you're actually becoming a part of it.
Exactly. And because the local islands are smaller, you can easily explore on foot. Or rent a bicycle. There's no cars, there's no traffic lights, just the gentle pace of island life.
Now, before we go any further, there's something I'm dying to know. We've talked about this incredible underwater world, those pristine beaches. But what about, like, some of the unique quirks of the Maldives? The things that make it truly stand out from any other destination.
Oh, there are plenty. For example, did you know that buildings in the Maldives can't be taller than the tallest palm tree?
Wait, really? Is that like a law?
It is. It's all part of their commitment to preserving the natural beauty of the islands, and it creates this really unique skyline where the lush greenery, it just dominates.
I love that. It's like a visual reminder that nature is king in the Maldives.
Exactly. And another fun fact, the Maldives has no rivers or lakes. All the fresh water, it comes from rainwater collected in these underground reservoirs.
Wow. That's fascinating. And it makes you realize, too, like, how precious resources are in this island nation.
It does. It definitely puts things into perspective. And speaking of perspective, one of the most incredible things about the Maldives is this sense of peace and tranquility you feel the moment you arrive. There's this incredible energy that just washes over you, inviting you to slow down, reconnect with yourself.
It sounds magical. Okay, so we've set the scene. We've talked about, the best time to visit. We've even touched on some of the unique quirks of the Maldives. But now let's get into, like, the nitty-gritty of planning this epic adventure. What are, like, some absolute must-dos for our listener, the experiences they absolutely cannot miss?
Well, that's a tough one because there are just so many incredible things to see and do in the Maldives. But I think for a first-time visitor, experiencing that underwater world it's an absolute must.
Okay, let's dive into that, literally. What makes diving and snorkeling in the Maldives so special?
Well, the Maldives is home to some of the most vibrant and diverse coral reefs in the world. You can swim alongside hundreds of species of fish, encounter gentle giants like manta rays, whale sharks. You can explore underwater caves and shipwrecks.
It sounds like an underwater wonderland. And I bet there are options for all experience levels, right?
Absolutely. Whether you're a seasoned diver or a first-time snorkeler, there's something for everyone. And what's great is that many of the resorts and guest houses, they offer diving and snorkeling excursions, so you don't have to worry about organizing everything yourself.
Okay, so that's underwater adventures ticked off the list. What else should our listener prioritize during their 3 months in paradise?
Well, one of the most magical things about the Maldives is that it's a nation of islands, and each island has its own unique personality, so I would highly recommend island hopping.
I knew you were going to say that. Tell me, what are some of the must-visit islands, especially for someone who wants to experience, like, both the luxury side and the local culture?
That's a great question, and one we are going to answer in detail in our next part. But for now, let me just say, get ready for some serious island hopping inspiration.
Welcome back to our Maldivian escape. Last time, we kind of set the stage with this incredible 3-month journey, exploring the unique geography, the best time to visit, and even those quirky little details that just make the Maldives so special.
Yeah, we talked about everything from those iconic overwater bungalows to the charm of local islands. We even talked about how to get around this island nation without, breaking the bank. But now it's time to answer the question that's probably been on our listeners' mind. And that is, where exactly should they go during their 3 months in paradise?
Yes, the island hopping dilemma. With so many options, it can feel a bit overwhelming, but that's where we come in.
Exactly. We're here to help our listener craft, like the perfect island hopping itinerary.
Hello.
One that balances those bucket list experiences with those hidden gems that, well, even seasoned travelers might not know about. Right. So let's start with a classic. I mean, no trip to the Maldives is complete without experiencing at least one of those luxurious private island resorts. They're the epitome of Maldivian indulgence, and for good reason.
Okay, I'm picturing myself stepping off a seaplane onto a pristine white sand beach, greeted with, the refreshing coconut drink. Where are we? What makes this resort so special?
Well, there are so many incredible resorts to choose from, but let's say we're whisking you away to the Four Seasons Landa Giravaru. It's nestled in the Ba Atoll, a UNESCO biosphere reserve, and it's known for its incredible marine life. Luxurious overwater bungalows, unparalleled service.
Okay, that sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But what exactly sets it apart from, other luxury resorts in the Maldives?
Well, for starters, the Four Seasons Landa Giravaru has its own marine discovery center, where you can learn about the local ecosystem, swim with manta rays, and even participate in coral reef conservation projects.
Oh, wow. So it's not just about luxury. It's about sustainability, too, and giving back to the environment.
Exactly. And speaking of sustainability, they also have this incredible spa that uses, organic, locally sourced ingredients. So imagine indulging in a massage overlooking the turquoise lagoon, knowing that you're supporting local communities and ethical practices.
Okay, I'm officially sold. But I know our listeners probably thinking luxury resorts are great, but can I actually afford to spend 3 months there?
Yeah, that's a valid point. And that's why, we're going to balance this luxury experience with some incredible local island adventures. Remember those charming guest houses we talked about? They're not only budget friendly, but they offer a completely different perspective on the Maldives.
Okay, so let's say we're hopping on that public ferry and we're heading to a local island. Where are we going?
Yeah.
And what awaits us there?
All right, let's set our sights on Maafushi Island. It's located in the South Mali Atoll, and it's one of the most popular local islands for tourists. Don't worry, it's still incredibly charming and authentic.
So what makes Maafushi so special?
Well, for one, it's got these stunning beaches that rival those of the private resorts. And the best part is you can actually swim in a bikini on these beaches, which isn't always the case on local islands.
Okay, that's good to know. So I'm guessing there are plenty of activities to keep our listener entertained on Maafushi.
Absolutely. You can go diving, snorkeling, dolphin watching. You can even try your hand at windsurfing or kite surfing. There are also plenty of restaurants and cafes offering delicious local cuisine at, very affordable prices.
Now, here's something I'm curious about. We've talked about the differences between, private resorts and local islands, but is there a way to experience both worlds
Yeah.
without, breaking the bank?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. There are actually a few islands that offer this unique blend of luxury and local charm. One that comes to mind is Fulustu Island.
Fulustu Island. Okay, I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hidden gem. It's located in the North Mali Atoll. It's known for its world-class surf breaks. And it also has a few boutique hotels and guest houses that offer a more affordable taste of luxury.
So you're saying our listener could experience those incredible Maldivian sunsets from a stylish beachfront villa without having to shell out thousands of dollars a night.
Exactly. And what's great about the Fulustu is that it's also, home to a local community, so you get that authentic Maldivian vibe as well. You can, wander through the village, chat with the locals, maybe even learn to make some traditional Maldivian crafts.
Okay, that sounds like the perfect balance. So we've got our luxury resort experience, we've got our local island adventure, and now this unique blend of both worlds. I'm starting to see how 3 months in the Maldives could actually fly by.
Yeah, it definitely could. And we've only just scratched the surface. There are so many other islands to explore, each with its own unique, character and charm.
Okay, before you overwhelm our listener with too many options, let's talk about something really important. Food. I'm all about those culinary adventures, especially when I'm traveling.
Oh, you're in for a treat in the Maldives. The cuisine is a delicious blend of Indian, Sri Lankan, and Arabic influences. Strong emphasis on fresh seafood, coconut, and spices.
So what are some must-try dishes for our listener? Like the kind of flavors that will transport them straight to like the heart of the Maldives.
Well, you can't go wrong with a classic Maldivian fish curry known as masriha. It's usually made with tuna or grouper, and it's cooked in this rich coconut milk gravy with a blend of aromatic spices.
Okay, that sounds incredible. But I'm guessing there's more to Maldivian cuisine than just curry, right?
Oh, absolutely. Another must try is garudia, a fragrant fish soup that's actually considered the national dish of the Maldives. It's typically made with tuna and it's served with rice, lime, chili, and onions.
And what about for breakfast? Is it all like pancakes and pastries, or is there a more traditional way to start the day in the Maldives?
If you want to experience like a true Maldivian breakfast, you have to try mas huni. It's a delicious and healthy dish made with shredded smoked tuna, grated coconut, onion, chili, and lime juice. It's usually served with roshi, flatbread, which is similar to an Indian roti.
My mouth is watering just thinking about it. And you know what I love about this culinary journey is that it's not just about the food itself, it's about the experience.
Right, totally. Imagine yourself, sitting on a local island, sand between your toes, ocean breeze in your hair, enjoying a fresh seafood barbecue as the sun sets over the Indian Ocean.
That's the dream. Okay, so we've covered island hopping, we've tantalized our taste buds with some incredible Maldivian cuisine. But what about those unique experiences, the things that you just won't find anywhere else in the world?
Well, one of the most magical things you can do in the Maldives is, well, go swimming with whale sharks. They're the largest fish in the world, and they're completely harmless. Just imagine gliding alongside these gentle giants as they, filter feed in the crystal clear waters.
That sounds absolutely incredible. But I'm guessing it's not something you can just do on any given day.
You're right. Whale sharks are migratory creatures, so the best time to see them in the Maldives is between May and November. But if you time your trip right, it's an experience you'll never forget.
Okay, so swimming with whale sharks is definitely going on the bucket list.
Yeah.
What other, like, once-in-a-lifetime experiences await our listener in the Maldives?
Well, if you're a diving enthusiast, you have to explore the Maldives' underwater caves and shipwrecks. They're teeming with marine life, and they offer a glimpse into the history of this fascinating island nation.
Okay, so we've got adventure, we've got culture, we've got relaxation. But what about something maybe a little more, I don't know, unique, something that will truly surprise our listener?
Well, did you know that the Maldives has its own unique bioluminescent plankton? Imagine kayaking or paddleboarding at night and watching the water just light up with every stroke. It's like something out of a fairy tale.
Whoa, that sounds magical. And speaking of magic, I've heard that the Maldives is one of the best places in the world to see shooting stars.
It's true because there's very little light pollution. The night sky is incredibly clear. So imagine lying on a beach, gazing up at the Milky Way and watching those shooting stars just streak across the sky. It's truly a humbling experience.
Okay, I think we've officially painted a picture of paradise, but there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and that's the practical side of planning this epic 3-month adventure.
Right. In our next part, we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of budgeting, packing, and those essential tips that will ensure our listener has a smooth and unforgettable journey.
Welcome back to our Maldivian adventure. We've explored, luxurious resorts, charming local islands, and we even swam with whale sharks, all from the comfort of our armchairs, of course.
Right. And we sampled, those delicious Maldivian curries. We kayaked through bioluminescent plankton, and we gazed at those shooting stars under the clearest night sky, imaginable.
But now it's time to bring those dreams to life and talk about, the practicalities of planning a 3-month trip to the Maldives. Because, let's face it, even paradise requires a little bit of planning.
It does. You're absolutely right. And while the thought of budgeting for a 3-month trip might seem, a little daunting at first, especially to a destination that's, well, known for its luxury, I assure you it's completely doable.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's break down that budget. First things first, accommodation. We've talked about those, dreamy overwater bungalows. We've talked about those charming local guest houses.
Yeah.
But, what's the realistic cost for a 3-month stay?
Well, it really depends on, your travel style and how much you're willing to splurge, really. You could find a comfortable guest house on a local island for as little as, like, $50 a night. While those luxurious overwater bungalows, those can easily set you back over $1,000 a night.
Okay, so that's a pretty wide range. But let's say our listener, they want to experience a bit of both worlds, right? So some nights in a budget-friendly guest house, maybe a week or two in a mid-range resort, and then perhaps even like a splurge on a few nights in that iconic overwater bungalow. Is that doable?
It's a great approach, and it's totally achievable with a little bit of, savvy planning.
Yeah.
One of my top tips is to look for deals and discounts. A lot of resorts, they offer special packages for longer stays, especially during those shoulder seasons.
Okay, so timing is key, and I bet those like online booking platforms can be super helpful for finding those deals.
Totally. Don't be afraid to shop around and compare prices. You can often find like incredible deals, especially if you're flexible with your, travel dates.
Okay, now what about food? And I already talked about those like mouth-watering Maldivian curries, that fresh seafood. But like, how can our listener eat well without, blowing their budget?
One of the best ways to save money on food is to, well, embrace that local cuisine. Eating at local restaurants and cafes, especially those frequented by, locals, will give you a much more authentic experience. And it'll save you a ton of money compared to, dining at those fancy resort restaurants.
Yeah, and those local markets we talked about, they were a treasure trove of fresh produce, spices, and of course seafood. I mean, you can easily pick up ingredients to create your own, picnics or snacks, which is going to save you a bundle, especially if you're staying in like a guest house with a kitchen.
Yeah. And here's a pro tip. Try to pack some non-perishable snacks from home, like granola bars or trail mix. It'll save you from those late night cravings when everything's closed, and it'll also prevent you from overspending at those resort convenience stores.
Okay, that's a great tip. Now, what about activities? We've talked about, diving, snorkeling, swimming with whale sharks, exploring local islands.
Yeah.
It all sounds incredible, but I'm guessing all those activities, they can add up.
Yeah, they can. But here's the good news. A lot of the most incredible experiences in the Maldives are actually they're free.
Free? Really? Like what?
Well, for starters, those pristine beaches, they're all public. So you can spend your days swimming, sunbathing, just soaking up the beauty of your surroundings without spending, a dime.
Okay, that's true. And those stunning sunsets are free too.
Exactly. And remember those local ferries we talked about? They're not just a mode of transportation, they're an adventure in themselves. You can hop on a ferry to a nearby island, explore a local village, and you can enjoy a picnic on the beach, all for a very affordable price.
I love that. So there's definitely a way to experience the Maldives without like breaking the bank.
Yeah.
But let's say our listener, they want to, splurge on a few special activities. What would you recommend?
Well, if you're a diving enthusiast, I highly recommend doing at least one dive in the Maldives. I mean, the underwater world is truly spectacular, and there are dive sites for, all experience levels.
And we can't forget about swimming with whale sharks, right? It's definitely like a bucket list experience.
Absolutely. But if you're on a tighter budget, snorkeling it's a fantastic alternative. You can still see an incredible array of marine life, and it's much more affordable.
Now, before we move on, I want to touch on something that's, super important. Responsible travel. The Maldives is a fragile ecosystem, and it's crucial that we as travelers, minimize our impact.
You're absolutely right. Choosing eco-friendly resorts and guest houses, respecting local customs and traditions, and minimizing our waste are all like essential aspects of responsible travel.
And it's not just about like the big things, it's about those everyday choices too.
Right.
So carrying a reusable water bottle, opting for reef-safe sunscreen,
Wow.
and choosing tour operators who prioritize sustainable practices can make, a huge difference.
Totally. It's about being mindful and respectful of, the environment and those local communities.
Okay, so we've covered budgeting, we've talked about responsible travel, but what about like the practicalities of packing for a 3-month trip to a tropical island?
Well, first and foremost, pack light. You really don't need a lot of clothes in the Maldives. Think swimsuits, cover-ups, comfortable sandals, and maybe a light sweater or jacket for those cooler evenings.
Yeah. And don't forget a good book or two for those, lazy afternoons on the beach.
Absolutely. And speaking of essentials, here are a few things you won't want to forget. A hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, insect repellent, and a universal adapter for your, electronics.
Yeah, and if you're prone to seasickness, it's a good idea to pack some motion sickness medication, especially if you're planning on doing any boat trips.
That's a great tip. And here's another one. Bring a waterproof bag for your phone and other valuables just in case, you get caught in a sudden downpour or you decide to go for an impromptu swim.
Okay, I think we've covered all the essentials. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the threat of climate change.
Yeah, it's a harsh reality that the Maldives, as a low-lying island nation, is facing the very real threat of rising sea levels.
Mhm.
This paradise is on the front lines of climate change, and it's something that every traveler should be aware of.
It's a sobering thought, but it's also a call to action. By choosing to travel to the Maldives, you have an opportunity to not only witness its beauty firsthand, but also to learn about the challenges it faces and how you can be part of the solution.
Exactly. Support sustainable initiatives, spread awareness, and make conscious choices that, minimize your carbon footprint. Your trip to the Maldives can be more than just a vacation. It can be a chance to make a positive impact.
So here we are at the end of our Maldivian journey. We've explored its, stunning landscapes, its vibrant culture, and we've even equipped our listener with the practical tool to make this dream trip a reality. What's your final takeaway?
For me, it's the realization that the Maldives is more than just a picture-perfect destination. It's a place of incredible beauty, resilience, and warmth. It's a place that inspires, awe and wonder, but also a place that reminds us of our responsibility to protect our planet.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Mhm.
So to our
Yeah.
listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked your imagination and ignited a desire to experience the magic of the Maldives for yourself. Remember, it's not just about the luxury. It's about the connection with nature, with culture, and with yourself.
Yeah, and remember, even a 3-month trip it's just the beginning of your Maldivian adventure.
Yeah.
The memories you create and the lessons you learn will stay with you long after you've returned home.
So go ahead, start planning, and get ready to embrace the paradise that awaits you in the heart of the Indian Ocean.